everyone, welcome back. If you're new here, I'm Katie, and today we are going to talk about one of my favorite readathons, which is Middle Grade March. It's happening all month long. I am so excited. So next month is Middle Grade March. It is a fun readathon. If you've never heard about it, it is for adults to have fun and just read middle grade books throughout the entire month. So this is hosted by three lovely friends, Krista, Katie, and Amanda. I will link all their channels down below, as well as the announcement video. But we're going to talk about some recommendations for each of the prompts that they have, and I'm just so excited. So they also asked me again to be a part of the recommendation video that they're going to do, so stay tuned because one of these books is going to be in that video. So that should be a lot of fun. Can't wait to send that over to her. So the prompts for Middle Grade March this year are going to be a one-word title, a debut novel, immigrant or refugee story, animal on the cover, and a book you missed out on. So a few of these could go for a couple different prompts. So we're just going to go ahead, have fun, talk about the different books. I made a fun list of some of my favorite books for each of these categories. So we're going to talk about one-word title first. And I tried to get at least 3 books for each prompt. So we're going to have fun. All right, so the first one, which I actually do have a copy of, which is good. It's actually in my lap. And that is A Restart by Gordon Corman. This is one of my favorite middle grade books. Perfect for the one-word title. This is about Chase. He is a middle grade student who was the school bully, the big bully, like I'm talking about, like the top bully of the school. And Chase ends up having an accident where he falls off the roof of his house and he doesn't remember anything. He doesn't remember being the bully. He's wondering why people are afraid of him. What's going on? Why is he friends with all these jerks in the school? And so he's trying to figure out, what happened? Like, who was I before this accident? And do I really want to be that person again? So it's a great story. I really loved it. I love it so much. And I've read, I think, three or four of Gordon Corman's books, and they've all been 4 or 5 stars. So definitely check it out. I actually have a few of his on my list for next month. So stay tuned for my TBR coming up next week. It's going to be lots of fun. Okay, and then the next book that I want to talk about is a book called Songbird by Ingrid Laguna. Now, this can actually be used for the prompt immigrant refugee story because this is about a girl who I believe her family came from Pakistan, I think, but don't quote me. But they moved to Australia because there's a lot of unrest in their country, and so they moved there. And the only thing that the main character takes with her is her singing, and that's why it's called Songbird. So she tries to, she's in a new school, people are treating her differently. So she is basically, she's out of her comfort zone, but she ends up joining the choir, and that's how she kind of integrates herself into it a little bit. And it's just a really great story. There is a sequel, but I didn't love that one as much. I felt like the first one could have just been a standalone. It was really good. Okay, so I have only 2 books for a debut novel because it was hard for me to find any debut novels that I've actually read in middle grade. So if you have good recommendations, let me know. But I have 2. So the first one is Ogre Enchanted by Gail Carson Levine. Yes, this is her debut novel. Like, that's pretty unbelievable. A debut novel becoming a movie and like a Newbery Honor book. Like, that is incredible. So yeah, really, really great story. This is about a girl named Ella, and she is cursed by a fairy by accident. It's kind of funny. The fairies are not all that good in the head. And so she ends up saying, I want to bless your child when Ella's born. So she's like, what can I do? I can't give her like the usual things. I think there's like something where like they can't like have the same blessing for like each child, but she comes up with, well, let's give Ella the chance to always be obedient. That's a good one, right? So that ends up being a curse for poor Ella, where she is cursed to pretty much no matter what anybody says, she has to do it. And so yeah, it's a curse. It's not a blessing. So it's quite enjoyable. I actually did really enjoy the prequel, which is called Ogre Enchanted. That one's also really good. I don't think I have it on this list, but it's really good. So you should definitely check it out. But yeah, so definitely check this one out. And then the other one that I have for a debut novel is The Beast and the Bethany by Jack Midget Phillips. This one is just a fun time about a man who is, I think his name is Ebenezer, if I was right. I'm not good with names, but I do remember that one. So Ebenezer has this monster, or this beast, in his attic. And so this beast has grown from itty bitty to ginormous. And the way he grows is because he's been eating things. He's been eating rare delicacies. He's been eating rare exotic animals. And all of a sudden the beast wants to see what it tastes like to eat a little child. And so Ebenezer, he thinks he has to because the beast gets angry, and if he does give him all these goodies and treats, the beast ends up blessing him with long life, good clothing, great house, art, furniture, a piano, all the good stuff. But now he's got to get a child for the beast. And so he ends up adopting this little girl in an orphanage. And the beast is no match for this little girl. Let me tell you, it's just a really good time. I really enjoyed it. There is 3 books in the series so far. The 4th one came out last year, but not in the US. So I'm struggling to get a hold of it. Yeah, so I definitely want to read it. And I think there's going to be one more. I think that's it. I think it's cut off at 5. But I did enjoy them. I think my favorite so far has been probably book 3, I think. But book 1 is also really good. And I also love that Ebenezer and Bethany, they both kind of have a character growth throughout the books, how they change and try to be better themselves and become friends. And I just think that's a really great story about the 2 of them. So it's probably my favorite part, is just their growth and how they change. So definitely check this one out. Okay, so the next prompt is Immigrant or Refugee story. I have 4, and I only have 1 physically, so we'll talk about that one first. Okay, so the one I have that I really love, I don't even know if it's going to be a reread. I don't think it's going to be. I've already read it 3 times. I've listened to the audiobook, which I do highly recommend because there's different narrators for each of the characters as well as sound effects. So it's really great. And that is When Stars Are Scattered by Victoria Jamieson and Omar Mohammed. And this is about 2 brothers. And this is the true story, actually, about Omar Mohammed and his brother. His brother has some kind of disability. I believe it's, I'm not sure what it is. It could be autism. It most likely is a very severe case of autism. And so it's about these 2 kids who are refugees, and they're living in a refugee camp in Kenya. And so it's about these 2 children who are just struggling to survive. They have lost track of their mother. They don't even know where she is. So they're kind of adopted by this older lady in the camp who kind of takes care of them while they're living there. And Omar is actually going to school at the camp, and he's trying to figure out if he wants to continue with school or not, because he does have his little brother to take care of. His little brother doesn't go to school, and so he's trying to figure that out, along with trying to find their mom, as well as if they're actually going to have a home, because they're trying to wait for the lottery, which means if we call your number, you might be up to be able to go to Canada or a couple of different countries that will accept refugees. And so they're on their journey, and it's a really, really great story. It tells a lot about the culture and everything. Just the storytelling in here is really great. The artwork is definitely readable. So I really, really like this book, and I definitely want this in my school curriculum when I homeschool in the future. And yeah, it was just very, very good. I love the cover, and I definitely had to have a copy of this when I saw it on Book Outlet. I was like, I need a copy. As I said, I've already read it 3 times. That is really, really rare for me. I never reread books, so this was definitely enjoyable. So another book that is Immigrant Refugee story. I think most of these are refugees. I don't honestly think I have an immigrant story. I think all of them are refugee stories. So the next one is Chronicles of Narnia, because obviously it talks about these kids who are during World War II, and they end up being refugees sent to England to avoid the bombings that happened in London. So total refugee story. The entire series really good. If you've never read it, definitely give it a shot and give it a chance. The Some of the covers, especially the first book, have an animal on the cover, so that works for that prompt as well. And this story is all just, oh, it's so magical and so much fun. The author just does an incredible job at bringing like Bible verses, but like in a relatable children's way. Like you can tell that he really had a close relationship with the Lord as he was writing, and it's just really, really good. I really highly enjoy the series. So yeah, definitely check it out if you haven't. The next one that I have is called Refugee by Alan Gratz. And so this one is about 3 different stories, and they all kind of combine at the end and into this like woven ending where it's like it makes sense, like, oh, like this is why these stories were told. So in this one, this is my very first book that I actually ever read by the author. So in this one, we're following, I can't remember what timelines or anything, but like we're following one where they're trying to escape from Cuba to Florida. Another one is, I believe it's in Upper Africa, and they're trying to escape to Europe. And I can't remember the other one. No, I can't remember. But it's 3 different stories about these families who try to escape from their country to go to a different one and become refugees. So it's really great. There's 3 different timelines. I think it's like 2000 something, like 1970s, I think. And then one's like even farther back, like maybe 1940s or 50s. But it's a really great book. Definitely, yeah, it's a good one. And then the last one that I have is called A Place to Hang the Moon by Kate Albus. It's one of my favorite middle grade books. This is kind of inspired by Chronicles of Narnia, except without the fantasy element. It's about 3 children. So we're getting or 4 children, so it's kind of the same element. And these children are, of course, being evacuated into the English countryside to get away from London before the bombings. Well, before they go, they are at their grandmother's funeral, and they end up being quite wealthy after her death. But her lawyer says, go to the countryside. You have no other family. Try to find a family to adopt you when you're there. But don't tell them you're wealthy, because obviously everybody's going to want to adopt you if you're wealthy. So they can't tell anybody that they're wealthy, but they have to try to find a family. So it's a really great story, a really just emotional read, and it's a lot of fun. So yeah, you need to check that one out. It's a lot of fun. And it's a book about books too. So if you're in the mood for that, definitely check it out. Okay, now we're going to go to animals on the cover. As I said, definitely Chronicles of Narnia works for that. The Beast and the Bethany. I mean, it's like the beast as kind of an animal, so like that could probably work. Songbird by Ingrid Laguna that I mentioned before. That one has a bird on the cover, so that one works. Lots of ones that I already mentioned work for this one as well, but I have a few that I can share with you. Okay, so the first one I have is Journey to Juna by Kim V. Engelman. Yeah, it's V. Kim V. Engelman. And this is a trilogy of Christian middle grade books. And I cannot highly recommend these enough. These were my favorite books growing up. They are hard to find. Book 1 is available on Amazon, but like book 2 and 3, you might have to buy used online somewhere, because they are hard to find. My dad actually bought them at a grocery store when I was little, and that's how he found it. And so it's been his books, and now they're passed down to me, and I will never get rid of them. Like, they are amazing books. I have reread those things probably, I don't know, 4-5 times, but they're just really, really great books, and they are definitely, I feel like they're inspired by Chronicles of Narnia, as we have a fantastical creature named Laurel. He is a white swan, and he is reminiscent of Jesus, and he needs the help of these children because this bad black swan has been stealing his swans from his kingdom, and he needs help to get them back. And it's really, really great story. It's very, very, I don't know, I just feel so like when I'm reading it, I feel like I'm in deep with the story. Like, I can just see every scene. I'm rooting for these children and Laurel, and it's just a really great story and beautifully told. I've been trying to contact the author, trying to tell her how much I've loved these books since I was little, but have not been able to find her. So if you know her, let her know. Okay, and then the last two that I have a series. This is the Dragon Keeper Saga by Catherine L. Butler. This is a Christian middle grade series, and it's very enjoyable. It definitely has some Chronicles of Narnia feels to it. It has, I think this covers this book 3. Yeah, book 3 has a rabbit on it, up in the top corner there. Book 2, oh no, book 2 has a bird on it. So yeah, so all the covers have an animal, and this one has a dragon on it. So definitely all these are really, really good. It's about this girl named Lily, and she gets a magic necklace from her dad. She doesn't know it's magical, but he left it for her, and he's presumed drowned at sea. And so she goes to school wearing the pendant. And something happens where she gets bullied, I think. And all of a sudden, like, out pops a knight in shining armor protecting her. And she's like, what's going on? So she kind of travels to this magical kingdom, kind of like Narnia, where where she meets my favorite character, which actually does come into her own world in order to help her out. I think it's Percival. I think that's his name, but don't quote me. But the dragon was absolutely my favorite in the story. I just really, really loved his character. He's like this proper English dragon. He just seems like he would have an English accent. So it was very enjoyable. I think the first book is still my favorite. I kind of struggled with book 3, I think, not gonna lie, because I think, was book 3 the biggest one, I think? I think it was. So I felt like there was a lot of filler in the third one, but I'm still intrigued to pick up book 4 that comes out this year, so I should be getting a copy of that one, so yay. Alright, so those books, and then my last one for Animals on the Cover, this one kind of reads more elementary age, but I love it so much that it's going in here anyways, and that is Monster Friends by Katie Van Dorn. This book was, I think this honestly made my top of the year when I read this, and I really need to do a reread because this book was just such a cute and fun ride. I loved it. So, and the artwork is like so cute, and it is, yeah, it's an absolute favorite. I love it. So the artist is actually the author, which I think is so cool. So in here we're following this creature. His name is Reggie, or it could be a girl, honestly, because there's girl Regina's out there, but I think it's a little boy. But anyways, Reggie, so he is kind of like struggling. He wants to stay at home. He tells his family, you know, go and take a vacation. I want to stay home and just relax. I don't want any adventures. I think there is like a comic strip series where like he did have an adventure with somebody, but I haven't figured that out yet. But he says he wants no more adventures. He just wants to stay home, relax, and take it easy. I mean, who doesn't want that sometimes, right? But also, who doesn't want an adventure? So out pops Emily, and she is just a wild, crazy little bunny creature. And she's like, let's go on an adventure, Reggie. And Reggie's like, like, I don't want to go. Like, almost the entire time as they're having these adventures, he's like, what are you doing? Just go home. And so it was just really, really funny, very sweet, these two friends having adventures, and I just absolutely loved it. I thought it was so much fun, and I would love if there was a sequel to this book because it was so cute. And yeah, as I said, it might be due for a reread because it's just adorable. So definitely pick it up if you want something cute, adorable, and fluffy. Okay, so for the last prompt is, did you miss, or whatever it's called, a book you missed out on. Okay, so I grabbed a couple options that I actually had on my bookshelves. So I tried to pick ones that were either kind of famous, books that maybe a lot of people have read but you haven't, and some are like maybe a little bit quirky, like maybe you've never heard of them, so you never know. Okay, so the first series, which is actually over here, I put it over there, I don't know why, but this is the Giver Quartet by Lois Lowry. Like, I know a lot of you read this in school, The Giver. I did not. Actually, this was not part of my curriculum in school. Although I joined public school in 8th grade, so it might have been earlier than that. I just never read it. So this is actually a quartet, and I know a lot of people actually don't know that. I used to put it on Facebook, like, hey, check this series out. Like, there's 4 books. And a lot of people didn't know that. So, yeah, so these are all kind of ones like, if you read The Giver, maybe you missed out on the others. And they're definitely worth the read because book 2, which I think is Gathering Blue, they kind of follow different characters throughout, but then the last book, it kind of all connects. And so it's a really great quartet, and I don't think I'd mind rereading it. I think, honestly, Messenger, I think, might have been my favorite. I think it was Messenger was my favorite in the quartet. But yes, definitely check it out if you've never read The Giver or never read the sequels to it. Okay, and then I have 5 lovely books here. So I have Pippy Longstocking by Astrid Lindgren. And this is like probably my top favorite classic middle grade. I just really love it. This is about a girl named Pippy, and she is just she's not an orphan. Like, she has a dad, but he's like at sea supposedly. And so we're following her and her adventures as she meets the next door neighbor children. And she's alone at home on her own. She's a wealthy kid, has her own like box of gold. She's got a horse and a monkey for friends. And then she meets these kids next door, and they kind of go on these little sweet adventures. And Pippy tries to she kind of tries to integrate herself into like their they're almost like high society, her neighbors. So she kind of tries to be a proper little lady, and it doesn't work out the way she plans. And I think she's just the sweetest little character ever. She is super adorable and quirky, and I just love her character so, so much. So if you've never picked up Pippi Longstocking, definitely check it out. It's one of my favorites. And then I have a prequel, which I did talk about it and mention it earlier, but I thought I'd mention it here. If you read Ella Enchanted, check out Ogre Enchanted. This is the prequel to Ella Enchanted by Gail Carson Levine. So, well, actually, it's a companion novel, not a prequel. It's a companion novel. But this one is just as delightful. Personally, I might like this one more than Ella Enchanted. Just saying. I think it's just a really fun story. So in this one, we're following Evie, and she works at, I believe she works at an apothecary with her friend Wormy. And they're just friends. But Wormy kind of like really, really likes her. He wants more with her. He wants to, he kind of really likes her a lot. Well, Evie doesn't feel the same way. She only wants to be friends. Well, then one day, a fairy named Lucinda, which I think is the same fairy in Ella Enchanted, if I'm not mistaken, Lucinda comes and ruins everything again. So Lucinda comes and she's like, "Can I do anything for you, Evie?" Evie's like, "No, I'm good, thanks." But Lucinda ends up talking to Wormy, her friend, and Wormy, I don't think he says anything specific, but Lucinda knows that Wormy likes Evie. And so she realizes that Evie doesn't feel the same way. So she's like, "You know what? Here we go. We're gonna change Evie into an ogre. We're gonna show her just how much that of an outcast she can be, how she can't be loved because she's an ogre." And so it's kind of just saying like, "Oh, you're not in love, so here you go." And because she doesn't accept Wormy's love, she is an ogre for 62 days. She only has 62 days to accept another proposal, kind of, or be stuck in ogre forever. And so it was just a lot of fun. I really enjoyed this one. And yeah, so definitely probably my favorite Gail Carson Levine book, aside from her Princess Tales. Okay, and then I have Restart Again by Gordon Corman. This one is a pretty popular middle grade book. I'm not going to talk about it again because I already did, but if you missed out on it, great chance to read it. And then this one, I believe this is an award-winning book, if I'm not mistaken, but it doesn't say. But it is Talk Everlasting by Natalie Babbitt. This is also a movie, so it can be like a beautiful pairing, a book and a movie. The movie is amazing. It's one of my favorite books or movies growing up. And the book is, I enjoyed it, but I think I like the movie just a little bit more. So this is about a girl named Winnie, and she meets this family in the woods behind her house. They're not supposed to be there because obviously they don't own the woods. But she meets them, and come to find out they're a family of people who cannot age. They can't die. They ended up finding a spring back in those woods that they accidentally drank, I think like 70 years ago or something. and they have never aged since. So they're kind of there to like protect the spring. They don't want other people drinking it to have the same thing happen to them. And so she ends up finding them, and the youngest brother, Will, wants her to drink it. So they're kind of like wanting to be together forever. I think they're about between 17 and 15, I think. And so, you know, she has to decide, do I drink this water and remain with this family, or do I just go on with my life? So yeah, it's a good one. It's a good one. Yeah, I've read 1 or 2 of Natalie's other books, and I think I have 1 or 2 more on my list for next month. And then the last one is a Newbery Honor book, and this was Hope Was Hera by Joan Bauer. Now, I like 2 of her other books more than this one, but because this is a Newbery Honor book, it might be more well known out there. So this is Hope Was Hera, and this is about a girl named Hope. And she lives with her aunt, and her aunt and her move from New York City to a small town in Wisconsin. And in order to help run a local diner where the owner's kind of, I think he is sick, and so he needs help. So Hope doesn't want to go. She doesn't want to leave her home. She's like, I don't want to go to this rinky-dink town where I don't know anybody. So Hope becomes one of the staff at the diner. She becomes involved with the town's politics and maybe a little bit of romance on the side. And so it's just a really, really sweet middle grade. Definitely probably in my top 3 of her books that I've read so far, and I definitely have more to read next month that I'm really excited to get to. But yeah, so I decided to pick this one. If you don't want this one, there is definitely one that I really love. It's called Close to Famous by the same author, Joan Bauer. Great story. It got me into contemporary middle grade books like nothing else, and I loved it. That one is about a girl with dyslexia, and her and her mom move from a bad relationship with her mom's boyfriend, and they move to try to escape him, where she ends up meeting this very kind of glitz and glamour older lady who used to be an actress, and she wants to learn how to cook. Well, the girl in the book can cook, but she can't read, so they kind of help each other out, and it's just a great friendship story. So if you want either one of those, I would go with Close to Famous, but this one's also good too. Okay, so those are all the books that I have recommended for middle grade March. Glad I was able to film this video today. I almost didn't. Like, it's getting dark out already, and it's only 4 o'clock, so, but I was able to film this video, and I just think it's gonna be so much fun. I have a long list of like 40 books I want to read next month. Probably not gonna happen, but I always make a huge list because I am such a mood reader for middle grade March, but I read a lot because middle grade books are short, and I listen to a lot of audiobooks. So why not? Why not have a long list? You know, if you don't get to all of them, that's totally fine. Just helps me to have a lot of options. So let me know what you are planning on reading for middle grade March. If you never heard of it, you know, I'm glad I was able to bring this video to you so you guys can have fun. Yeah, it's gonna be lots and lots of fun for sure. All right, so I hope you have a wonderful day. I will be back next week with my TBR, so it's gonna be lots of fun. I am gonna do my TBR game based only on middle grade books, so we'll see how that goes. Because I can already tell you I did not accomplish February's TBR. I just had more pressing books to finish for a deadline, so yeah. Can't tell you about that, but not until it's over. But yeah, so more pressing books that I needed to read. So yeah, okay. So I hope you all have a wonderful day. Go middle grade March. We're gonna have lots of fun. Read all the middle grade books. It's gonna be so much fun. I've already planned a few buddy reads. If you want to buddy read anything, let me know. It's gonna be fun. All right, so I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I will see you all in the next video.